All right, on this episode of Bouts Talking Bouts, excited to be talking to an individual coming off of quite the intriguing fight at Rizin 33, a custom rules bout that went down on the New Year's Eve card and went the time limit draw there with Tenshin Nasukawa, and very happy to welcome on Takanori Gomi. How's Takanori's day going so far?
ウェス今日はお時間いただいてありがとうございます。今日の一日、調子どうですか？どんな一日ですか？今のところ。
では、調子は休館日です、今日は。
Today is a day to rest my liver, which means no drinking.
Yeah, well, that kind of segues perfectly into my first question, because I've seen many interviews where you said, quote, jug of beer after the fight is kind of the move. Like, what kind of beers are the go-to? Is it kind of just all beers, fair game, or is there a favorite?
ゴミ選手は試合後にお酒を飲んだりするのが結構アメリカでは有名になっているんですが、ちなみにビール飲むときは何のビールがおすすめですか？
なんでも、ビールのおすすめ、まあ、エビスだったり、ギネスとか、ハイネケン、なんでも、あとコロナも飲むし、なんでもです。
As far as beer goes, Dylan, I'll drink anything. I recommend Ebisu. I drink Guinness, Heineken, Corona. Like, I'll pretty much drink any kind of beer.
I was going to say, does he do the Corona with the lime? Because that's always like the go-to combo for me.
私もコロナのよく飲むんですけども、ゴミ選手はコロナ飲むときライム入れますか？
入れます。
Yes, I do put in the lime.
No, that's the power move for sure. But I wanted to get into talking about this fight because, came about relatively short notice, but a very intriguing fight that ended up being quite entertaining there. So, what was it like getting out there and testing skills with Tenshin Nasukawa, and especially during his last fight with Rizin here for the time being?
今回の大晦日のお話にお聞かせていただきたいんですけども、本当に相当の準備期間が少ない中、非常に話題性に富んで、そして、見ていて面白い試合だったんですけれども、実際に天心選手、そして天心選手のライジン最後の試合ということで、手を合わせてみて、どういう感じでしたか？
そうですね。天心が、キックボクシングのビッグマッチと、ボクシングへの転向というのがあってですね、自分は MMA のファイターと一緒に練習をしてきて、ボクシングのトレーニングはもうライフワークなので、MMA のトレーニングないときは常に続けてるんですけど、ですね、エキシビジョンという形なので、やると。それで、やっぱりですね、力で倒すんじゃなくて、彼のスピードだったり、そういったものを、なんていうんだろう。もう少しね、準備期間があれば、そういったものを、もっと、なんていうんだろうな、彼の持ち味に近づけたようなトレーニングもこっちもやりたかったし、彼のこれからのチャレンジにプラスになるようなものをしっかりね準備してやりたかったっていうのは本音ですね。
So, this fight was, it was said to be Tenshin's last fight in Rizin, and he was on his way to make his move to boxing. And although I've been training MMA, boxing has been my life's work. Every time I don't train MMA, I would train boxing, and I would continue to do so for my entire career. So my honest opinion is that I really wanted to send out Tenshin and show him what boxing is really about. If I had enough time, I didn't want to utilize my power and overpower him. I wanted to show him the technique. I wanted to be as fast as him, as agile as him, if I had enough time to train. So in a perfect world, I wanted the proper time to train so I can send off and introduce him to boxing in the proper way. But unfortunately, it didn't happen. But it is what it is, and that's what we saw.
Well, one of the things I was noticing, as per some reports, was that part of accepting this fight was securing a spot on that June event there. So presumably an opportunity to get that full camp and showcase the skills, I would think.
ゴミ選手が会見でおっしゃってたんですけれども、この試合を飲む条件として6月の、今年の6月にも、参戦を約束するという話を聞いていたんですが、それに向けて、今回は半年以上準備期間があるということで、そのボクシングの部分は6月に、見せられそうですか？
そうですね。ボクシングマッチと限ったわけではないんですが、要はですね、もう急なオファーはやめてくれっていうことを言ってるんです。はい。そういった心の準備をきちっとして出たいということですね。はい。
So, the whole point of me, demanding that spot in June was, I just wanted to send a message, saying that don't give me short notice. I need time to prepare. I need time to prepare mentally and physically, to show a good showing. So that was the entire point of me demanding that spot. So I'm not sure if I'm going to be fighting a boxing fight in June, but the whole intention of making that demand was, don't give me short notice fights.
So it's not necessarily like a locked in thing as far as like the rule set, opponent, etc. Just more illustrating you would like to get on that huge Tenshin versus Takeru card.
はい。意図としては急なオファーをやめてくれというのはすごく伝わったんですが、その6月のビッグファイトのカードには、ゴミ選手は上がるという認識でよろしいですか？
そうですね。やっぱそういったビッグイベントに出る機会があるならぜひぜひチャレンジをしたいですね。はい。高木原 CEO にも対戦表明したんで、実現していきたいです。
So yeah, if the opportunity presents itself on such a big, on such a big fight card, I would love to take on the challenge. And I've already made it clear that I wanted to challenge CEO Sakakibara. So we'll see how that goes.
あとは海外の強豪選手、ちょっと今トップのっていうのは難しいですけど、レジェンドファイターであったり、日本のファンにも名前を知ってほしい、かつてのトップファイターであったり、そういった選手とやれる機会があればという思いはありますね。
I also have I also would like to challenge, international legendary fighters if possible. Obviously, I probably wouldn't be able to get the opportunity to fight the current top guys out there, but some legendary fighters, boxers, those are some of the challenges I would want to face.
Yeah, and speaking of different challenges and big cards, it seems like the custom rules bouts have really been a fixture of back-to-back New Year's Eve cards for Rizin as of now. I mean, the Koji Tanaka fight being another one there. Is that something that Takanori would like to continue to do, like have these annual custom rules bouts to entertain the fans for the New Year's Eve cards, or was that just kind of, circumstance more than anything?
ゴミ選手はここ2年連続大晦日で、カスタムルールバウトですね。昨年は、2年前はコージ選手、そして、昨年末は天心選手とカスタムルールバウトで非常に観客を盛り上げるような試合をやってきたんですが、今後、そういうのを続けていって、大晦日はゴミ選手がカスタムルールバウトでお客さんを盛り上げると、そういう風に続けていきたいという気持ちはありますか？
それもそうですし、今海外でのレジェンドファイターのボクシングマッチっていうのがすごい盛り上がってるので、そういったものにチャレンジしたいですね。
Yeah, that's definitely one option. But right now, I do feel that overseas, a lot of big boxing exhibitions, big boxing fights where legends are fighting legends and big names are fighting, big fights happening in boxing. So I would definitely like to get involved and challenge those if an opportunity is there.
Yeah, well, I mean, the name value is definitely there on Takanori's end for sure. So that would be something I would enjoy seeing, no doubt. But something I was curious to kind of ask about because, Takanori has such a huge, lightweight resume, especially over in Japan, just with multiple accolades, being the Shudo champion and the profile as the Pride champion. And I was kind of curious just because with, Roberto de Souza being the new lightweight king in Japan, as it were, I'm kind of wondering if Gomi has had a chance to, see Roberto compete and I guess what his thoughts on his skill set is and how he's representing the lightweights, I suppose.
ゴミ選手はもう日本のライト級で、それこそ、シュート、プライドっていうもので、もう日本のライト級の代表選手であったわけなんですが、今のライジンのそのチャンピオンのソーザ選手の試合は、ご覧になりましたか？そして、彼についてどのような印象を持ちますか？
彼は、めちゃくちゃ強い。めちゃくちゃ強い。でね、彼は人柄というか人間性も素晴らしいですね。なんて言うんだろう。会場がね、パッと明るくなるような、それで驚くほど強いっていうね。同年代、同じ時代のファイターだったら、ライバルになったんじゃないかとも思うし、最後にチャレンジというかね、やってみたいという思いはいつも心には持ってトレーニングはしてますけど、トレーナーは首が取れちゃうからやめろって言ってますね。
Yeah, so Souza, he's a super tough opponent. He's a super tough guy. He's got a great personality. He's got that personality where he lights up the room. He makes everybody cheerful, happy. He's got something very special, and he's very good. So I always think that if we were competing during the same time, during the same era, I do believe that he would be a great rival of mine back in my my heydays. I always train with the possibility of me facing Souza, but my trainer says that he'll take your head off, so don't do it.
Well, that's kind of interesting. It sort of segues into my next question because I'm noticing it's been at least a little bit since the last MMA bout, like Rizin 11, July 2018. Is the goal to still get back to competing in MMA or more so like the boxing and custom rules bouts is the focus now?
ゴミ選手が最後に MMA をしたのが2018年の7月だと思うんですけれども、この先、ゴミ選手の方向性としては、MMA に復帰するのか、もしくはこのままカスタムバウトだったり、ボクシングを中心にやっていくのか、どういうお考えでしょうか？
そうですね、MMA に関しては、ジムにファイターが来てるので、自分の経験ですとかトレーニングを伝えて、ライジンでもいいファイトをしてってくれればなっていう思いはありまして、自分にとってはちょっとボクシングルールとかカスタムファイトの方が今現在は調整がしやすいと思ってます。
So as far as MMA goes, I have a lot of MMA fighters coming to train with me in my gym, and the plan is to pass down my experience and knowledge to the new generation so they and hope they put on a good showing in Rizin. But for me, I think it would be easier for me to get fights and get back into fighting with boxing rules or these custom bout rules.
Yeah, and that's interesting. It seems like there's the joy in being able to mentor some of the younger fighters there, and like with this Tenshin fight, I think a lot of people were looking at it as like a cross-generational, Pride and Rizin colliding sort of thing. Like, what are his feelings overall on, I guess, being that sort of generational talent and just mentoring the young talent, but also testing skills with some of the, new age talent as well?
ゴミ選手はこれから自分の経験だったり、技術を次の世代、MMA ファイターに伝えていくというふうにおっしゃったんですけれども、そこにおそらく喜びを感じていると思うんですが、今回の試合、天心選手との試合も、やっぱりその、ジェネレーションの、技術とか経験を伝えていくっていう一面もあって、そういうふうに見られた試合なんじゃないかと思ったんですけれども、ゴミ選手自身、こうやって次の世代に自分の知識だったり、経験とかいうものを伝えていくことに関して、どういうふうに向き合っていますか、捉えていますか？
そうですね。もちろん普段は今現在のトップクラスのファイターと一緒にトレーニングはしてるんですけど、ああいった大観衆の中で、このカスタムファイトという形でもぜひ拳を交えたいと言ってくれる若い選手のことは本当ありがたいといえばありがたいですし、自分としてもこの年齢までリングに立てるのは幸せだと思ってます。
So I do train with top Japanese fighters every day at the gym. But I just feel very grateful and fortunate for those young fighters who actually say that they would want to trade fists or trade exchange strikes with me in front of such a big crowd. And I'm grateful for those young kids who say they want to fight me. And I feel very blessed that I'm able to continue to fight up until this age.
And I guess since we're on the topic, I'm kind of curious, like when Takanori was a younger fighter, who were some of the mixed martial artists that he really, looked up to that inspired him to kind of get into the sport there?
逆にゴミ選手が若かった頃、ゴミ選手が影響を受けたりとか、尊敬した年配のファイターとかって、誰かいましたか？先輩ファイターで。
そうですね。やっぱ佐藤ルミナ選手、櫻井マッハ選手、ボクシングで言えば、辰吉選手でしたり、畠山選手でしたり、あと MMA だとどうなんだろう。そういったところですかね。シュートのファイターだ。佐藤ルミナ選手には、一番影響を受けたような気がしますね。
Yeah, for me, it's mostly Shuto fighters, but it would be Rumina Sato, Mak Sakurai, Hayato Sakurai. Rumina-san definitely inspired me to be who I am. In terms of boxing, Tatsuyoshi and Hatakeyama, those two were my inspirational fighters back when I was young.
I mean, that's curious that Rumina Sato was mentioned. I mean, not in the sense of the resume. I mean, definitely a legend, but I mean, the individual that he captured the Shudo lightweight championship from and everything like that. Like, what are the feelings of, I guess, getting to test skills with someone that you look up to with such high regard and then to emerge victorious and capture such a valuable championship? Like, can Takanori kind of, take me back to that night and some of the feelings associated with that?
ゴミ選手がルミナ選手からすごい影響を受けて尊敬していたと、いうことなんですが、実際そういう選手と戦ってみて、で、タイトルを争ったりする、そういう経験って実際どういう感覚なんですか？
そういう感覚、もちろん自分が挑戦する以上は絶対勝たなきゃいけないと思って、すごい緊張感の中でやった思い出はありますね。もちろんルミナ選手はすごい人気ありましたし、アウェーでしたし、そうですね、海外の試合会場並みにアウェーでしたね、当時は。
Yeah, it's a very awkward way to describe this. But for me back then, as long as I was the challenger, and as long as I was challenging an opponent, I was going in there to win, and I was determined to win. But I remember the atmosphere being very intense, and I was extremely nervous because although it was in Japan, Rumina-san was the star at the time, and he was the definite favorite. And I felt like I was fighting overseas because it was such a hostile environment. And that's what I remember from that fight.
Yeah, just such a legendary moment for sure. A career, littered with them. I mean, the resume really reads like a who's who, but I was kind of curious if there's anybody Takanori has faced throughout his career that maybe goes underrated in a certain sense, like maybe a certain opponent he tested skills with where maybe people don't talk about it as much, or it's like, oh, hey, this guy was really good, one of the better opponents I've tested skills with, but maybe not necessarily a name everybody knows right away.
ゴミ選手はキャリアの中で様々な強敵と世界中の強敵とやってきたと思うんですけれども、当然有名どころの選手だったり、当然みんなが知っている選手たちは当然強い相手だったと思うんですが、ゴミ選手が対戦した中であんまり知られてないけど、こいつ実はむっちゃくちゃ強かったよっていうような相手っていますか？
難しい。いや、もう USC の若手選手、そういった選手はもうどの選手も強かったですね。かつて自分が佐藤ルミナ選手に櫻井真選手に挑んだように挑んでこられたので、昔の自分と向き合うような気分になってしまったので、なかなか攻略することはできなかったですね。
Yeah, that's a very difficult question, but I would say that all the younger fighters when I fought in UFC, the ones who defeated me, they were all really tough. I felt like I was fighting myself back in when I was challenging Rumina-san, Sakurai-san, because they were the ones who were motivated in challenging me. So they were all very tough.
And one of the canceled bouts I was seeing on Takanori's Tapology was one with Andy Sauer at Rizin 11, whereby Andy, had signed with one championship. But I'm kind of curious if there's been any fights throughout Takanori's career whereby there's been some level of discussion around a certain opponent, but it just never, I guess, came to fruition. And maybe Takanori's like, it would have been good to get out there and test skills with them. Would have been an intriguing test. Like, are there any fights like that were loosely discussed that had intrigue but ultimately never transpired?
ゴミ選手の最近で言うと試合が組まれていたけれども実現しなかった試合、最近で言うとライジンのアンディ・サワー選手でやりながらできなかった試合、その他にゴミ選手がオファーあったけど実現しなくて、ゴミ選手としてはやりたかったなっていうそういうのってあったりしますか？
いや、そういうのはないんじゃないですかね。それより、とにかく突然のオファーの方が多いんじゃないですか。ないですね。
I don't really recall any fights like that or any incidents like that. I usually get short notice fights and I just take them. So I think a fight falling through is very rare for me.
Yeah, that gamesmanship, one of many reasons why people love and respect Takanori so much, for sure, but been really great with his time, and I want to be mindful of that. So is there anything he might want to add as a parting thought as we're wrapping up?
ゴミ選手、本当にそういう試合を受けて、お客さんとファンから本当に好かれるようなファイターだと思うんですけど、本当にもう時間も来てしまったので、最後にゴミ選手が何か海外の視聴者とかリスナー、読者の人たちに伝えたいメッセージがあればご自由に何か言ってください。
そうですね。この間の試合でレジェンドは復活したんで、海外でのね、ビッグマッチ、ボクシングマッチのオファー待ってます。
So I know that a lot of legendary boxers and fighters are making their return in the U.S. So I'm waiting for that offer. Please put the word out.
Yeah, I would love to see Takanori out there, and hopefully those promoters get calling real soon. And that Tenshin fight definitely entertaining there at Rizin 33. So, yeah, hopefully that's the case there. Would love to see it. But again, thanks for the time, Takanori, and just enjoy the rest of your night too. Thanks so much.
もこのメッセージを伝えるために頑張りますんで。
はい、よろしくお願いします。
楽しみにしてます。ありがとうございました。
はい、ありがとうございます。で、これ柏木さんつながってる？
はい、つながってますけど。
もう
なんかありますか？
もう切れた？
向こうまだ出てないですよね。
向こうが切っちゃうとこれも切れちゃうんですよ。
ああ、そうですか。じゃあ OK です。OK です。一回切りましょう。はい。はい、ありがとうございます。
ありがとうございました。
はい、すみません。
ありがとうございます。ありがとうございます。